Hey guys, Dave here, and we're going to do something a little different today. We are going to talk about buffing priority when you don't have a lot of mana. That's probably true in Classic and Kunark, or if you're just kind of starting out in a later expansion, or maybe you're making a whole bunch of tunes and you're just leveling to max level. On this server, it's 70 when I'm at the latest expansion, which I'm currently in Classic, but maybe you just don't have a lot of gear and you can't buff everyone. So we're going to talk about buffing priority. But first of all, I want to show something that one of the people on my YouTube channel who commented taught me just now. And this is super important, especially when you have a big team. Up until just now, I had 15 summon buttons. I could only summon 5 characters at a time per button. And there's actually an easier way to summon your entire raid instantly. And you can do it on any character with a single command. And I'm going to show you how to do it. And I take no credit for this. I give credit to the person on the it was on my Vox video. He showed me how to do it. This is the command. You do and you have to be GM. Every character needs to have GM privileges to do this. The characters that are going to use it, not the characters that are. Yes, every character on the server. So every character needs a status of 255. You do /BCAA space // space pound go to space $ open curly brace me.name close curly brace. And what that's going to do is me.name is going to get replaced with Dave's if I'm going to run it from Dave, but it can be run from any character. And watch this. See everyone over there? I'm just going to run away from them real quick. You press this button, boom, everyone's here. It also works across zone lines. So that is the new way to do it. I'm going to show that one more time. That is the command. Pause there if you want to copy that into your scripts. You can put that right into a hotkey. Okay, so now let's talk about buff priorities. We're going to go through each class as we can. And these are not perfect because when I made these, I had even less mana. So let's go into Notepad, Notepad++. So we'll start with let's just go down let's go alphabetical, and as we get to a new class each time, we'll talk about it. So bards don't buff; they just have their songs. These are some basic songs that I use. These are not the best song order. I don't in Classic. I just don't really care enough to customize the bards, but I do have them each using 2 dot songs, and then I could just equip an instrument to use the combo health and mana song, but I like them. I just have them dual wielding. No, I have them using drums. I think for the for elemental rhythms to have slightly better resists. And then I have the disease and poison resist song for other certain mobs, and then I have this one for underwater for like Kedge Keep, which I still haven't done yet because it's really annoying getting around there. And I think I'm just gonna buff everyone with Enduring Breath. Just haven't done it. So let's move on. So talking about buffs, I put Pat Chloroplast on every group. I have each druid using it on different groups. So that's one way to conserve mana is to separate what groups are being buffed by different characters. And instead of having one character buff each group, have like 4 of the same class buff like 3 groups each if you have 12 groups, or if you have 4 groups, maybe you do two doing 2 each. So that's one way to do it. Then here's the other druid. Then here again we have Spiritual Light. I highly recommend. Pat Chloroplast is probably a little less important in Classic, but I recommend having it. Spiritual Light, super important buff, is a hit point regen and mana regen buff, which also stacks with hit point regen and clarity. So this should be on every group. You can block it on melee characters who don't have mana, such as a warrior or a monk or a rogue or a berserker, etc. You can buff block it and save a slot. I don't right now, but you can definitely do it. Infusion of Spirit is kind of like Focus. It costs less mana to cast, and instead of raising your hit points, it raises your stamina. And since you're not going to cap your stamina in Classic, I recommend Infusion of Spirit. It's just you can get it on more characters for less mana. I would switch to Focus if you're capping your stamina, or like once you get to level 60 and start getting much better gear, then I would switch to a Focus spell. You also have a lot more mana then, or maybe an AoE Focus at level 60. I just can't think of it right now, but because it's so cheap on mana, I'm actually able to cast it on several characters from a single shaman. Let's see who else we got here. I would have Blessing of Temperance. costs a crap ton of mana. It's so much that at level 50, if you have no wisdom gear, you probably won't even be able to cast it. So I recommend one cleric per one group if you have enough clerics. If you don't have enough clerics, then you're going to have to med during your buff routine and cast it twice, or whatever you have to do to hit all the groups. But I would dedicate your clerics, individual clerics per group if possible, because this thing costs I think it's like 16 or 1800 mana. That's a lot in classic. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so here's an enchanter. So these enchanter buffs are pretty cheap to cast. Swift Like the Wind can be. I think that one costs a little more, so I have him doing it on 5 characters. But what's more important is we get these buffs up immediately, and then these are a little less important because it's gonna wear off quicker, so he's gonna have to keep it up. You can also use a lower level haste spell. It doesn't last quite as long, but it uses a lot less mana. That's gonna be a personal choice. You're always free to use lower level buffs. I use lower level heals for that reason. Let's see what else. Yeah, see, I use greater healing, which is not the best cleric heal, because I don't want to overheal and waste all my mana. I always recommend when you have a big group and a lot of healers to use a lower level heal. Okay, let's see what else we got here. You can also omit buffs that are just not as important. Can't think of an example off the top of my head, but if you have some buffs that aren't really making a huge difference at the current expansion you're in, just omit them, because you have 15 buff slots. So you obviously don't want to use more than 15 buffs. And example, John is a ranger and he's using Spike Coat, but he's never going to get hit. And if he does, he's not going to get hit more than a few times. So this is probably a useless buff. I'm not going to take it off right now, but it's probably a useless buff for him in this raid situation. Did I hit everyone? Oh. Talisman of Altoona stacks with Infusion of Spirit, so you can actually mix and match. You can put Infusion of Spirit on certain people with one shaman, and then Talisman of Altoona on with another shaman, and that's a good way to actually get the hit points from focus while also getting the stamina from infusion. I don't know which gives more hit points, the combo buff or just focus, but this is what I've been doing, and it's been a pretty good way to save some mana and buff more characters when mana is limited. See. Yeah, so see, here's a cleric who has to do 2 casts, so Mary has to med up mid buff routine. Let's see. It's kind of the same thing as the other enchanters. I don't damage shield everyone. In the beginning, I only damage shield the warriors. When the AoE damage shield comes out, I'll probably just damage shield the tank groups. I just don't feel like I need to damage shield every character in the raid. I just don't think it's useful. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We have more Spiritual Light, Chloroplast. So again, another shaman. We're casting strength buffs on every group, or at least it was like half the groups. I'm guessing the other shaman will get the other ones. It's good to have strength because early on it's very popular. Popular? No, that's not the right word. It's very common to not have enough strength to carry your armor and any stuff you're carrying around, especially on your looter character, especially on your tank characters if you're not using ogres and stuff. So I would recommend casting strength on everyone. It also increases DPS on the melee characters, which supposedly it does. I haven't parsed differences. Let's see. Yeah, more of the same, more infusion. I need to actually cast infusion on more characters because I'm noticing certain characters are getting killed a lot when AoEs hit, and I think I have enough mana now to cast it more. So that is how I do buffs early on. Later on, I actually do more fancy things. For example, let me go to a cleric. So you can actually type bot buff equals, and then you can do temperance. And I'm just going to pick a character in Chris. I'm going to make up a character. Let's assume Janet is in Kristen's group, and I don't think she is. But let's just assume. I can do check for type character, blessing of temperance, min mana, I don't know, 95. And what this means is, if Janet does not have Blessing of Temperance on her, cast single target Temperance on here. This is good if a character gets killed and you res them or summon them back and they're buffless. This is to prevent, because they're not going to get this buff because Kristen is the target of that buff. So you're saying if the buff is not on them, cast a single target buff on them. And you would make this for every character in the group that, in this case, Eleanor is in charge of group buffing. so that you can do any group buff with a single target version. So I highly recommend doing that once you start getting more mana and you have more complicated buff routines, because you are going to die and you're going to want to get your characters rebuffed fast, and you definitely don't want to drop buffs off everyone every time you take, like, 6 or 7 deaths or however big your team is, and some of the team dies. I definitely recommend doing that. But I think that's really all I have to say about buff routines. If you have questions, please let me know. I will go into it in a future technical video. Still trying to think of more technical videos to do before I move on to Kunar with the 72-box crew. So if you like what you see, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and let me know, again, what you want to see and what I can do to make this more fun. So until next time, I will see you soon.